All right, it is 6:31. A quorum of the board is present. This meeting has been duly called, and that notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551. Will you please stand with us as we have Pastor Kerry Smith from First Assembly Maypearl. He's going to lead us in our invocation.
Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight for this opportunity to come together. We recognize tonight, Lord, that there will be opinions given and thoughts given. And Lord, I thank you for whom those thoughts and opinions come from. I thank you, Father, for the parents of students in this community. I thank you, Father, for this board that will make decisions in days ahead. I thank you, Lord, for our teachers, our support staff, our administrative staff. But most of all, Lord, I thank you for our most precious resource in this community, and that's our children. And I ask you, Lord, to rain your presence upon this meeting, that your grace, Lord, covers, that your peace covers, and that, Lord, understanding is able to be arrived at tonight in the hearts and minds of this group of people. And Lord, we honor you and praise you for it in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Bless you.
Thank you, Pastor. And now the pledge. Mr. Boone, do we have any public comment? Nothing? Okay. Then we will move on to recognition.
At this time, Ms. Beckham, would you like to bring your staff members up to be recognized?
Good evening. Tonight, we would like to recognize our pre-K and our ECSC paras. We have Miss Lauren Villanueva, Samantha Howe, and Elizabeth Cisneros. These ladies are often the first faces our students see every morning. They always have a smile on their face. They welcome the kiddos immediately, making them feel loved, safe, and knowing that they have a place to go to, that they're always going to be cared for. If you truly knew what these ladies did every day, you would ask why and how. But they do it because they truly care about these kids as if they are their own. We are so thankful to have them, and the ladies that they work with have shared some notes that they want to say too. All three of these wonderful ladies are so caring and have built a great relationship with not only our students and staff, but as our parents as well. They always pitch in wherever they can lend a helping hand, and they do it with a smile on their faces. You can tell that they genuinely love these kids. I'm so grateful for Miss C for all her hard work and dedication and for hanging in there and covering me while I was out with medical issues. She is very reliable and committed and exceeds the expectations of a pre-K aide. She is definitely a godsend. And Miss C is Cisneros, and that's from Miss Baker. Samantha Howe is the aide that every teacher wishes were in their class. She is kind, patient, and encouraging with the students. She shows up every day with a smile, willing to do whatever is asked of her. Samantha notices what needs to be done and does so. She gives our classroom positive energy that the students thrive in. I am so grateful for her every day. And that's from Miss Patrice Gilsdorf. Miss Lauren Villanueva doesn't just come to work, she makes a difference every day. She works with our special needs little ones, providing love, respect, and consistent boundaries that the students need. She is dependable and willing to help however she can. She is a blessing to all she works with. She has been such a joy to work with this year. She has been a wonderful addition to our classroom, and the students adore her. She is hardworking, dependable, and patient. Her patience with our special education students is what impresses me the most about her. She is always willing to help anywhere a need arises, and she does so with a great attitude and kind spirit. I am very proud to have her as my sidekick and partner. She is a wonderful asset to Maypearl ISD, and I am very thankful for all she does. And that is from Miss Gilsdorf and Miss Rendall. She works in the mornings with our ECSC program, and then she moves into pre-K in the afternoons to work with her babies in the afternoon. So y'all are truly an asset to our campus and our students. We are very blessed to have you. Thank you for all you do. All right.
Ladies, hang on just a second, and thank you so much for all you do for our district.
Okay, thank you, ladies. Thank you, Ms. Beckham. Ms. Bone, I think you have some special guests here as well.
Not as tall as her. Okay. Okay, so I have Courtney Barton and Heather Garcia here with us. They are part of our PTO. We every year do a chocolate fundraiser. It's chocolate bars. Some years they're $1, some years they're $2. This year, chocolate prices rose significantly. So our boxes of chocolate this year, they had 40 bars.
40 bars and they're $80 a box, so $2 a chocolate.
Okay, so later on, you guys are going to hear a presentation from our ladies, our PTO, about what they are planning on doing with some of the funds that were raised. But we wanted, as the middle school, to appreciate our kids that went out and they worked hard, they sold, and they kept going. Some of these kids were hustlers. Not everybody was able to come tonight. Spring for middle school and high school gets a little dicey with all the sports and activities. But we've got our top sellers for each grade level. So for 5th grade, Mason Rodriguez sold 10 boxes, and I don't think he was able to come. For 6th grade, we had a 3-way tie. Lindley Smith sold 7 boxes. Lindley, I know you're here. You want to come up and stand with us, baby? Claire Coonrod also sold 7 boxes. And Victoria Martinez sold 7 boxes. So these are our 6th grade top sellers. For 7th grade, Clara Sanchez was our overall winner, and she sold 24 boxes.
Second year in a row, top winner.
Yeah, she's 2nd year in a row top winner. She was unable to come, and for 8th grade, Carly Sharp sold 9 boxes. So the grade overall that sold the most was 6th grade. They did a great job. Everybody was really excited about the prizes that were offered.
I believe they had 163 boxes.
163
Fifth grade was
total.
very close to them, maybe by like 4 boxes. But,
Very cool. And what was the prize that they were most excited about?
well, we have the BMX show that's coming to school. They really liked that. And then they also like we're going to a tour at the Ranger Stadium. So we have 82 students that sold 5 boxes or more that are going to go to the Ranger Stadium. So
And
they
I
did
think that's
really
the
well.
most we've ever had.
It is.
Oh, you are more than welcome to
Any
come.
adult's allowed to go. It just costs money.
Okay, so later on, you guys will hear a presentation from our PTO about what they want to do with the amount of funds that they raised, with the hard work from our own kids. It's going to come back to our campus to do some great things. So I'm really excited for y'all to hear their presentation. And thank you, all of you, for doing so much work. I appreciate you. Yeah, I do, yeah. All right, we're gonna go over there and take a picture. Y'all came and did all the work with the kids.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
All right, next up on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
Any conversation? All right, all in favor? All four. All right, next up is the superintendent's report.
Okay, for enrollment, as of 3/24, we have 484 students at the elementary school, 361 students at the middle school, and 356 students at the high school. That gives us a grand total of just over 1,200 with 1,201 students. And then, does anyone have any questions regarding the finance report for Mr. Boone?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So with the finance report, if you open that summary sheet, you can see our ADA hasn't changed from last month. We're still at that 1122 ADA, and we built our budget on 1111. And then that next graph, our revenue realized to this point at the end of February is 68%. And then our expenditures encumbered and expended are at 60% of that budget for the appropriations there. That next page down is going to be the comparison of this time of last year. And so you can see our revenue is up a little over 500,000 from this time last year. Our expenditures are also up about a little over 500,000 from this time last year. And then that's primarily due to some facility capital improvement expenditures there. The next graph right below that is child nutrition, and that is showing that our CN is at 11,000, almost 12,000 up in their revenues from this time last year, and they're running about 28,000 less in their expenditures, and that's primarily due to staffing. So they were a little bit inflated with trying to spend down some of their fund balance, and so a part-time position in CN, once they left that position, was not filled. And then if you go to the next page, that is our construction report. So you can see the amount in the total balance column there at the top. And then the new expenditures from February. And then you can see at the bottom the future payments due, just kind of the estimate of where we're headed with. We got a pay app for March from Gallagher, and then listing out their balance to finish there, and the different fees with what would be remaining from those funds at the top. And so that hasn't changed much since last month either. We still have about that same amount expected. So, any questions?
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
How are you feeling with us obviously passing the deficit budget of ADA tracking ahead of budget right now? Do you think there's a chance we're going to be able to, compensate
Yeah.
the deficit?
Well, I don't know about compensating the full deficit, because what I look at is the deficit was minuscule. It was about, I think, 40 to 50,000
Sure.
deficit. But what we have to also consider is that there's a lot of capital expenditures that are coming due this fiscal year that were added to our fund balance basically last year.
Yeah.
So that's coming due
Makes
this
sense.
year. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boone. So then at this time, we have a bond construction update with members of Gallagher. So gentlemen, if you're welcome to come up to the mic.
Hi, good evening. Well, I think we have better news for you this week. So, as y'all know, the culinary kitchen area, the labs and all that, I believe most of it's being used right now by the district. Got a short list of things we're still working on, some punch list items. I'll go down it real quick just to give you what we're working on. There were some permanent cores in some of the storefront doors that got, I don't know what happened anyway, they're expected to be here to be put in next week. The tabbing commissioning, the company that comes in, balances all the AC and verifies and certifies all the systems are working. They're working on it now. I think they're down to just a handful of items, some lighting controls that they're tweaking and stuff like that.
Yeah, so with that, with the network being down last week, we're kind of running through Area D, which is the new CTE wing.
Yeah.
So with that network being down, we're kind of limited to what we're doing, so they're working on it now, and we're projected to be done by that Monday, Tuesday of next week.
Yep. In the spirit shop and in the kitchen pass-through door, there's some covers that need to be reordered. Those are in. They're going to install them Saturday. The HDMI covers, those are some trim cover plates that we've had a major issue. We actually got them in 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they got stolen. Along with, I think, some of the IDF, some other his technology, they disappeared. They're back in now, so they're fixing to get those installed. They reordered them. We handrail on that back dock where the kitchen area is got damaged, so we got a new one made, and they're either going to install it Saturday or Monday morning. And the one thing, those 3 burner ovens, Ms. Votal, you got the email I sent you.
Yes, sir.
The manufacturer had a problem with some of the parts, but we got confirmation they're shipping tomorrow, so we should have them like Tuesday or Wednesday, and they're going to put them in and connect them right away. There were some little trim cover panels where Mr. Bowling had us remove a wall. It was kind of a rough area there in part of the old school. They've got the covers. They're supposed to be out tomorrow to get it prepped, and then we'll get those installed. And Knox boxes, so the fire marshal asked to add Knox boxes as the exterior doors and the fire riser room. We got approval on that, I think sometime last week. Those are about a 4-week lead item, but they're just literally mounted on the wall, so as soon as they come in, we'll come put those in. There were a couple of little signs by the doors that came up missing. They'll be here next week. And the couple of teachers' cameras in the middle school labs somehow inadvertently got missed. We're going to have those next week to get them installed. And the biggest thing, and it's not a major thing, but the Monday after Easter, we're going to shut power down to the schools. The electrician realized he missized the ground wire between a transformer and a panel. So we got to coordinate with Encore, and it was going to happen over spring break. There was some miscommunication. So to get it done while you're out of school, it's only like a couple hours type deal. So Now, with that being said, they walked today with the ADA inspector. He was there this afternoon. There's a few items, we gotta wait for that report, but we'll get those fixed as soon as they get us a report, so.
And that'll go straight to you, Ms. Votel, that
Okay.
report.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
So when
you.
you get that, please forward it on.
Okay, I will, thank you.
I think Buford will send it to us anyway, but.
Okay, okay. That sounds like a lot of the punch list from the last time we've talked. I know there are some smaller things that you didn't mention that maybe you're not mentioning because they are smaller, but the grout and tile is still very dirty at the middle school. I know that the locks were installed, but they're not keys. No one has keys to those locks. Do y'all have those keys by any chance?
Those are the permanent keys.
Okay.
They should have most of them, but I'll
Okay.
get with Kirk tomorrow.
Okay.
And I can, give them some more of those keys.
Now, you said at the middle school, the grout?
Yes, sir. And the tile is dirty still, yes.
Okay, we'll go back and look.
Okay.
They cleaned a lot on that
Okay.
over spring break. I mean, we
Okay.
had several days of cleaning with several people, with drills, with
Mm-hmm.
cleaning it out of that rough tile. But-
Okay. In an inspection this week, we saw that
Okay.
it is still dirty there. And then one of the bigger things that I do think is bigger that I did not hear you talk about is the scratches when you enter the high school. We've talked
That
about that
red,
multiple times.
That got replaced.
Yeah, those ACM panels were replaced last Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't mention that because we did it. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's okay.
We just left the open list, but I have a list of everything
Okay.
we completed last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll send that to you after this meeting.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. Thank you.
But-
Y'all have anything?
Is that back patio in the cafeteria, is that up and running yet?
Yeah.
We're using
yeah.
that?
Yeah, all the access control, that was done prior to the last board meeting.
Okay.
And
I
I
don't
haven't
remember
had
the
a
exact date,
chance
but it was.
to talk with Mr. Mitchell, our child nutrition director, but I know that he had quite a few items in his kitchen that needed to be addressed. Have y'all been able? Because
In
I
the
didn't
main
hear.
kitchen,
Yes, sir.
like some gouges in the floor,
Yes,
that was all.
yes, sir.
To our knowledge, we went over that with him and Ms. Day prior
Okay.
to spring break. At
Okay.
most, unless there's something we don't,
Okay.
that got overlooked, it was done.
Ms. Day, do you have an update on that?
Before? Yes, sir. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was that Friday.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll just run through it.
Yeah.
So for the kitchen in there, we had a few items, which we still have one open right now. It's that A110C rolling door. that
That's the
quarter
one I
door.
said they have the parts. It'll be here Saturday to fix.
Yeah, so that'll be replaced Saturday. The tray return counter, where it was missing that marine edge and it was just kind of looking rough there, that was fixed last week. The thresholds for the walk-in cooler freezers were installed. The intercom is up and working and has been tested a couple different times now. Opening A110, the security latch, that was installed on that back door.
The exterior door.
Okay.
And then the freezer window is leaking, so I had their service tech come out. They ran a couple tests, they said there's no issues. He said the only thing that he could see is that if they're leaving that open, while they're putting all the materials in there, that when it closes, because there's a heater in that door, that can cause condensation to leak out from that window.
Okay.
So we cleaned it and we're just monitoring it right now.
Okay. Okay. That's great. Thank you. Anyone have any questions or, I think my last question then would be, do you have an estimated finalized, we're out of here date, like everybody's good for, especially culinary, for us to be able to, we've obviously moved our kids into the other classrooms, which has
Yeah.
been wonderful, but culinary, do you have a finalized or
Those
an
ovens are
ETA
gonna
on?
be here next, it's supposed to be shipping Friday from the factory. And I mean, we sent that email from the factory, what they sent. So they're gonna hook them up, connect them right away. So,
Okay.
and then, Claycomb did say once we get those in, he wanted to wait till those are in, his consultant's gonna come out and walk. So, gentlemen, if they come up with a few items, then we'll get them addressed type situation, but, this is what we know about. So, to answer your question, potentially by the end of next week, most everything that I listed, the biggest thing are those Knox boxes, because, I mean, it just takes so long to get them shipped from the factory.
But not culinary by the end of next week for
No.
students to be able to use, is that correct?
No, I
Okay.
think so. Right now, the plan is that those ovens are supposed to be here Monday or Tuesday of next
Okay.
week. And then, I'm gonna rush to get them installed.
Okay.
And then the plumber to be here to hook up all the gas.
Okay.
And then we'll test those and then, that'll be it. But those are the last pending items in culinary.
That was it, yeah.
Okay. Well, I know Chef Torres and the students will be very excited to be able to
Yeah.
use that
And-
space.
And
so
I think
thank you.
I think he knew, but I mean, they'd had the one oven, if they wanted to, they could, because we're gonna do it after hours if need be to put those other three in, but, so, we made sure, I mean, unfortunately, some of those closures around the hoods. They've remade them 3 times.
Yeah,
We
I
finally
heard,
got him
yeah.
in and got him in before the end of the week, so.
Okay.
And got the inspections all passed. So.
Okay, and everything is updated with the panel that's in there, Mr. Anderson? I know y'all have been talking about that. Is that panel where it needs to be now? And the interactive display is what I'm using the wrong term, but the display.
So, yes, we took it out.
Okay, so,
There will be a TV that will go in there at the beginning of next week.
okay.
That's
So there
the one
was a,
you reordered, a smaller one there was a head height issue with the
Yes.
bigger.
It's up high.
yes, so you found a resolution to that problem?
Yes.
Okay, that's perfect, okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
And
gentlemen.
only thing I have is the staging area where y'all have the fence and stuff. Is that all complete? I haven't. It's been a couple days since I drove by, but I noticed that y'all had taken most stuff, but all of it wasn't gone. It wasn't quite returned.
Yeah,
But
so all the flex space has been stockpiled over there by the
Batting cages.
batting cages
Okay.
per Kirk's request, and then we'll hydro seed that.
But-
okay,
but
so
yeah,
it's just not
everything-
quite done yet. Okay.
It does need to be hydro seeded and get the dumpster gone, but they cleaned all the rock up and it's the school's
It's
property.
almost there.
It's for y'all to use, so yeah, we're just gonna hydro mulch that, so.
Okay.
Sorry, that wasn't on the list.
No,
but
you're
yes.
good.
I talked to Kurt. I think they're gonna use it for like his area, for the bus area, and then maybe some at the baseball fields too. So.
Okay,
thank you,
thank you,
guys.
gentlemen.
Thank y'all very much.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, at this time, I believe Ms. Wolf is going to come up and give us a special programs update.
No.
Look at these guys.
We're gonna get there.
I tried to make mine as fancy as Corey's, but it's not. We've got a competition going here, and I'm not winning. So thank you so much for letting me speak to you tonight, and give you a heads up and about all the good things that are going on in the Special Programs Department and what's going on in our world. So this is our impact statement for special programs. And before each meeting, we kind of look at this, and it's something that we always talk about, because I ask the staff, what speaks to you today? Because every day, something different speaks. It's individualized support, meaningful relationships, progress monitoring, advocacy, collaboration, and we've kind of put communication and collaboration go together there. And then teaching with purpose. And as we're out walking around the campuses and helping and doing, we see all kinds of great things going on. And so I always, say, well, what speaks to you today? What are you feeling? And so it's really good conversation and good dialogue that we're able to have from this. And it also keeps our focus on our impact that we make. So I just wanted to give you our special ed numbers. So last year, the first day of school was 28 at the primary, and then 31 at Snapshot, and then 54 was the last day of school. And then, of course, we don't have primary this year. So that's why when you look over at LSK, those numbers have increased. So last year, 83, 85 on Snapshot, 96 was the last day of school. And then when we had our primary moving over to LSK, we had 94 on the first day of school this year, 103 on Snapshot, and 106 on the 10th. And then MMS, again, 48 and 55, and then you see 76. That's because we had the fifth graders that moved over, so there's that increase there. 81 at Snapshot, and then on the 10th we had 79. And at high school, the 58, 57, 58, 51, 49, and 46. So they didn't really have any changes there. And the really good thing to kind of note is that the numbers go down at the high school. And it's not because we don't want to serve kids at the high school, but our goal is to get them in, help them, try to close those gaps, and get them out. So that's a good thing when we see those numbers decreasing. I would like to say, we ended 263 last year, and we're at 231. You're like, oh my goodness. And it seems like, people move away and come back in or back and forth, but the 231, we've kind of stayed close to that, like 233 for snapshot, but we're getting a lot of students that are requiring a lot of support, and so we've got a great staff that is providing that support. So our 504 numbers, last year we had 5 at the primary, LSK had 29, and then at snapshot last year, and then 11 this year, 30 and 45, 48 and 43, and then 112 total, and 99. The 504 numbers there, with us having 11 at snapshot, I think that is the number being lower. It's because we're doing so much intervention before we're moving to labeling 504 and special ed, which is a really good thing. Our dyslexia numbers, we had 7 at the primary, 69 at LSK last year, and 32 right now, or snapshot this year. And I was talking to Claudette Ratliff about that, and I think the reason why that number is not as large is because those are direct services. None of those kids are monitored. They're direct services. So when you look at MMS, they're 76. That doesn't mean that there's 76 in that dyslexia program. They may be in there, but then we also have kids that are monitored, so they're coded dyslexic, they're in general ed classes, and they're receiving accommodations, but they don't get direct services through MTA. And then the same thing, 39 at the high school and 37. So intervention, this is a good thing here. Like I said, if you'll look, when I was saying about LSK for the intervention, the 504, those numbers are lower, but 29 at the primary last year. And I don't know if you remember or not, but I know that last year the number 29 kind of people were like, ugh. Well, that was snapshot. And we kind of looked at that, but you have to remember a lot of those were babies who have never even been in school before. So they've got to learn how to do school, and then the numbers decreased at the end of the year. So that looks like a large number from last year, but it's not as large as and alarming as it could be. But at LSK, snapshot last year was 18, but it's 52 this year, and at snapshot, and again, they are doing a really, really good job of pulling those kids in and trying to dig deep and provide those interventions early, like now, so that they don't get to 504 and special ed and we can fill those gaps. There are 16 at the middle school at snapshot last year, 8 this year, and 2 and 2. Intervention at the high school is not normally as seen as it is at the elementary. So then just wanted to let you know what we've been doing. We've kind of been a little busy. July 17th and 18th, I told you about that back at the end last year, but TEA has a presentation, and I wanted to put it in there so you could see what we call it. They're called PLAFs, but it's present level of academic achievement and functional performance. That's why we call it PLAF. It's a lot easier to say that. So anyway, I had Region 10 to come in, and they did a training for us on the 17th and the 18th. 17th was face-to-face, the 18th was virtual, and that's with all of our special ed teachers. And then August 4th, SPED core team meeting. And when I say core team, that's speech therapists, diagnosticians, counselors. That's also our intervention, dyslexia, and counselors. So we had our meeting on August 4th where we talk about and plan for the year. And then I met with all the special ed teachers on the 6th. January 5th, we had, in the morning, we had a board maker training with all the life skills teachers in Paris. And the board maker program is a program where there's a curriculum there, but also they can do visual schedules, and because some of our students are maybe nonverbal, and we have communication boards where they can point, and so we did a training. I had the lady from Board Maker. She did the training. They've been trained, but it was really for more additional training. And so anyway, we did that in the morning and in the afternoon. All of our special ed teachers came over, and Claudette Ratliff and the interventionists have got a really good resource library. And so we went through all of that with our special ed teachers to show them so that they can check out resources and things that they can help the students as well. Then we circled back around on January 19th and did a make and take. So from the board maker training on the 5th, their task or their homework was to go and make a visual schedule or something with the training that they learned. And so they came back on the 5th and did a really, really good job. It was cool. And, you know, they stole ideas from each other, so that was neat. And then on the 16th, we did X-Logs training for STARS billing. You know, we've been trained, but, you know, we're always looking to see, is there something we're missing that we can get another $1 to make Josh happy and you. But anyway, we went and did another X-Logs training, and then I had Region 10 to come back in, and they did a follow-up training with us on the goals training that we had from the summer. So, special on staff meetings, just wanted you to realize, or just to know that the first semester I met every month with our special ed teachers, and we met as a group in here and just talked about, you know, legal things, what's going on, what do you need, what can I help you with, and all those types of things. And we did talk about instruction. But this second semester, I've been going to each of the campuses and meeting with the special ed teachers, and I think it was last month where they showed you the tracker that the campuses have, where they've got all of the students, and it's got map data, beginning and middle of years map data, star scores, and all that. So I replicated that, and our special ed teachers copy and pasted, and so they've got one for all of their caseload. So all of the students on their caseload, they've got that, and it's got their star scores, beginning and middle of years map, and all of that. So we've sat down since January, February, and this week, just looking at students individually. What are you doing? And it's really exciting. We've got some kids that are making a lot of growth, and we're really, really pushing the progress. Some kids, I'm sorry to say, they may not ever pass a STAR test, but we really want to make sure that they understand it's about growth. As long as you're growing and you're making progress, that's what we really want them to be proud about. So we're doing that, and I'm doing that on each campus. And then I have my team with my SPED team, core team, we meet monthly. For highlights, I'll try not to cry. It's been a hard year. It's been a really, really hard year. I know it's been that way district-wide. It's been that way across other districts as well. But we've had a lot of personnel shortages, turnover, unfilled positions. Y'all know that. I've come begging. And our personnel, we have pulled them from here to there to here to there. And they have been phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. My core team, they've gone and been in classrooms. We've been in the front office. Wherever they're needed. And then the paras, it's amazing what all they do. Well, you just saw 3 of them, but they are great. So they've gone above and beyond, and I can't tell you how proud I am of them. So looking forward and moving forward, we are looking at, I'd like us to do to implement a reading program at the LSK for resource. It builds on the foundational skills. It also does address all of the components that are required in the dyslexia handbook. And so we've got some kids that maybe MTA is not the most appropriate program for them, but we could look at this Reading by Design, which is the program we're looking at. And Region 10 does a training for that, and then they come back and they coach so we can have some continued support. And then another thing we're looking at is restructuring that dyslexia intervention position, Claudette's position. She's still going to do exactly what she's doing, but we want to look to see if there's some ways that we can get her into the classrooms to help with interventions at Tier 2 and do some coaching with teachers. just to give an additional layer of support. That's our hope. So that's what's going on in our world. Any questions, thoughts, feedback?
No, we appreciate what you're doing. I know it's in the sped world, it's just a shortage statewide, nationwide. So thank you for everything you do, especially your paras. Like I see them when I drop off my kids, they're opening car doors. Every small kid is in that pre-K or that area is being welcomed. They're safe, secure. They're learning, growing. No, thank you to all y'all.
It's unbelievable. It is. If we could pay them what they were worth, it would be wonderful.
Do you have a question on the contract employee services? How is that? Can you give us an update and see, are you satisfied with that?
It's been difficult.
Okay.
We are looking, we've had some changes in there, and the agency, as they promised, if it didn't work out with someone, we could change.
Okay.
And we did, with no problem. And we're going to be looking at another change, but we have someone who's going to be coming in, and she's going to be an employee. So that should start, the April 2nd is when that's going to start, so the contract. And it's a 4-week, supposed to be a 30-day to terminate the contract, but the representative and I worked very closely together, so she's letting us just do 2 weeks. So we've done 2 weeks, and so the April 2nd should be the last day.
Thank you.
So thank you for asking. So
Thank you, Ms.
it
Wolf.
wasn't as fancy as his,
But it was great, thank you. Okay, so at this time, we have the check payments list. Mr. Boone, would you like to talk to us about that? Or do y'all have any questions for Mr. Boone about that?
Anybody have any questions? I didn't see any questions.
No questions, okay. Okay, then at this time, we are going to go into a public hearing, and I'm going to present the TAPER report. So this is our Texas Academic Performance Report, and you have seen some of these numbers in regards to our STAR scores, but we are required by TEA to present this in a public forum, and it is also going to give us an opportunity to look at our scores versus the state scores and kind of see where we line up with the state. So we're going to kind of look through that lens as we go. Thank you, sir. Okay, as we look through the accountability rating, we obviously have a C score overall as a district. And then when you look at our special ed determination status, we meet requirements for our status. And then we're going to jump right into scores. When we look at elementary, our reading, there's a breakdown by grade level. You can see that third grade, remember when we talk about approaches, meets, and masters, the state gives us those 3 different levels, and I know this is rinse and repeat. Y'all have heard this before, but I am going to say it again. Approaches means that the student is approaching grade level. They technically are passing on the STAR test when we look at the pass-fail, but when we look at are they growing, approaches means just that. The student is approaching grade level, so they're approaching where they need to be on grade level, but they are not on grade level. And so when they're in the meets category, that means they are meeting grade level expectations, and then masters, they are above and beyond what is expected at the specific grade level. So you can look there when we look at third grade. We're not too far below the state in approaches. For reading, meets, we're just under, and then we're quite a bit under for masters. In third grade, fourth grade, we are above the state in approaches, right at the state for meets, and then just below for masters. And then fifth grade, we're at same as the state, 77% at approaches, 55 just below for meets at the state's 58, and then masters were below the state's 30 with our 24%.
Mrs. Votal,
Yes, sir.
and this is for 23-24?
This is for 24-25.
24, 25. Okay,
There
thank you.
is going to be some data as we move throughout this report that is that lagging data. That's
Right.
probably what you're referring
Yes,
to.
ma'am.
And some of that is lagging, but we'll talk about that when we
Okay.
get to that. It gets very tricky. They report some of it from last year, which is the STAR scores, but then when we talk about graduation and CCMR, that is what they consider lagging data that we will talk about. Yes, sir. Thank you. Then when we look at the math scores for the elementary, again, right at approaches for third grade. We're at 32%, which is below the meets standard for the state, which is at 46. And then masters, we're actually just under the state at 15 compared to their 19%. For fourth grade, 84%, so they are well above the approaches level for the state's 69%, and we have 84%. Meets is 53%, which is again above the state, and then masters at 22% was just below. So fourth grade really, math really has done a significant job in growing our kids and getting them where they need to be. Fifth grade math, they were just below approaches at 71%, with the state 74. Meets was 44% compared to the state's 47%, and then 18 just below the state's 22% for the masters. And I'm going quickly, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to stop me. And then when we look at the last subject that is tested at the elementary level at fifth grade only is science. At approaches, they had 66% passing compared to the state 65%. For meets, they had 39%, and the state was 31%. And then masters was above, is 14% at the state's 12%.
I think it's a jump from 23, 24, isn't it, for
Yes,
science?
sir. Yes,
for
sir.
fifth grade science?
It jumped significantly. Yes, sir. Okay, that is elementary. Any questions about elementary overall in reading, math, or science? Okay, then we will move on to the middle school and break down by grade level. For sixth grade, overall approaches is 77% in reading, and right at the state's 77%. For meets, it's 52%, which is just below the state's 56%, and then masters is 18% compared to the state's 29%. When we're looking at seventh grade reading, we have 71%, which is just a little bit below the state's 76%. Meets is 33% compared to the state's 54%, and then 12% in masters compared to the state's 27%. And then eighth grade reading, well above the state's percentage at 82%. They knocked it out of the park with 94%. And then for meets, 66, again, well above the state's 58%. And then 37% was also above in the master's category compared to the state's 32%. So again, eighth grade did a great job at the middle school campus in reading. Math. Okay, so for math, sixth grade math, the middle school was 75% approaches versus 74%. Meets was 41 versus 40%. And then masters was 9% versus the 16% for the state. For seventh grade math, middle school had 30% approaches versus the state's 55%. At the meets, the state was 33%, and we were well below with 5% meets. And then for masters, 0% of our students met at the master's level versus the state's 11%. And then eighth grade approaches, we were at 88% approaching versus the state's 71%, so they did well there. And then meets was 65% versus the 47% for the state, so again, very well above. And then 16% masters versus the state's 18%.
What do you think that seventh grade scores is going to do to the overall accountability rating in that campus? Think it's got a big impact, or do you think the eighth grade makes up for it?
I think that there's some things that level out,
Right.
that level each other out for sure. You know, when you look at the reading and the fact that the reading did so well, such a high percentage rates in all of those, and the eighth grade math it does level each other out when we're just talking about percentages of passing and failing. It definitely does. And it becomes a numbers game too, quite frankly, when you look at the number of kids that you have versus the number of tested subjects. But they definitely, when you have such a strong area versus such a very low area, then it does help to level each other out, yes. When you look at it overall as a campus.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Good question. Okay, and then science at approaches for, and at fifth grade only takes it at the elementary, and then science is only tested at the middle school at the 8th grade level. And so for approaches, they had a great 89% versus the state's 74%. Meets was 51% versus 48%, and then masters was 12 versus the state's 19%. So again, some pretty good scores there compared to the state. And then social studies at middle school also tests social studies at 8th grade. 8th grade, those kiddos get to just test and test and test. But for the social studies scores, approaches was 46% versus the state's 58%. Meets was 22% versus the state's 32%. And then 10% of our kids' masters versus the state at 17%. And that's going to be middle school. Do y'all have any other questions about middle school? Okay. And then we're going to move on to high school. At the high school level, English is tested at English 1 and English 2 only. And so the breakdown by grade level for English 1 is approaches. They had 62% of the kids pass versus the state's 69%. Meets was 42% versus 49%. And then masters, we had 10% of our kids that were in the masters category versus the state's 15%. And then for English 2, approaches, 58% of our kids approached grade level versus the state's 72%. Meets was 42% versus 55%, and then 2% of our students mastered, and 8% in the state did.
So I know that Mr. James has implemented some new strategies with some of these grades,
Yes.
some of these core subjects at the high school.
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming that's to help with these
It
scores
is.
and to help the kids to kind of understand these things on a regular basis than just on a testing.
That's
Once a
accurate.
year.
And and I wish he was here to talk about it. But the assessments that he's implementing that are those weekly assessments, the instructional process, and part of the instructional process is assessment, right? And so you have to have assessment of some form to be able to determine, how students are performing and what the kids know. And so, there is, when you go 6 weeks to do a unit test, or you go, a semester to do a semester test, or you go all year to do STAR testing or interim testing or whatever it is, those are some great baseline and checkpoint measures that you want to look at. But truly to determine where a kid is in the moment, those small pockets of time are really the ones that give you the best bang for your buck in regards to where the kids are and what they need. And when we look at, going back to the approaches, meets, and masters, our goal as a district is meets. The state says approaches is passing, but we need our kids to be at meets. That the Maypearl way, that we're trying, this new line of thinking that we've been working to implement, is approaches is not good enough. If I'm a teacher, say I go back to my 5th grade science roots, and I'm a 5th grade science teacher who, my approaches scores look great, that's good, but I really need my meet scores, because that means that at the end of the year, my kids are still approaching being a 5th grade on 5th grade level. And as a teacher, that's not good enough for me. They need to be meets or masters. They need to be where they are going. And so back to your question, that helps them to do that. That helps an instructor to know, okay, if I know this week my kids didn't get this, I can adjust my instruction. If I know that there was, the majority of my kids are low on this TEAC, then that's an instructional thing I can address. If you go 6 weeks without doing to do that, or longer, those gaps are going to widen and you don't know about them. And so the quicker you can identify the gaps and then reinforce the instruction to fill the gap, the better the kid is, the more stable their academics is going to be, and their instruction and what they're retaining is going to be. So not to put words in his mouth but in conversations with us in regards to what they're trying to accomplish at the high school, that is what they're trying to accomplish. They're trying to get a very, very strong pulse on where their kids are and what they need to do to adjust instructionally to get them where they need to be if they're not there.
Yeah, and I know it was a culture shock for
It is. It has
a
been.
lot of the
yes,
kids
yes.
and parents, for that matter.
And let's be fair, instructors too, because that hasn't been the high school way, the Maypearl High School way. And so it has been a transition and it has been a change. I do strongly believe, though, that it is for the better and it is what our kids need. It is what the bar that our teachers should be reaching and the bar that we are working to get our kids to as well. It did raise the bar. It did raise the bar. And so when you raise the bar, your hope is that you're going to support the kids and the staff to meet those expectations. And I do believe that that's what they're working to accomplish at the high school. Yes, sir.
Cool, thank you.
You're very
And that's probably something we can implement at the middle school level too, right?
That is yes, yes, that can be implemented anywhere. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay, so moving on from English, if there aren't any more questions, to algebra. Algebra 1 is the next test that is tested, is the only math test that is tested at the high school. And so at approaches, you have 63% versus the state's 78%. Meets is 20% versus the state's 45%. And then masters at 9% versus the state's 27%. And then biology.
Real quick, remind me,
Yes, sir.
did we take out the 8th graders on this one, or is this still the 8th grade and the high school?
This is 8th grade with the high school.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
they're
you.
reported with the high school. Yes, sir. And then when we look at biology, the breakdown there, approaches was 90% versus the state's 92%, 48% versus the state's 61%, and then 7% versus the state's 21%. And then history is the last thing that students are tested on at the high school level, and that's approaches. We scored 93% of our kids scored in the approaches versus the state's 95%, and then at meets it was 54% versus the 68%. And then masters, 25% of our kids were in the masters category versus across the state there was 37%. Okay, so something new that has been added to the TAPER reports that I have included in my presentation this year is they give us information specifically in regards to our second language or our ESL kids. And so it's just an overall arching numbers, but breakdown by subject area for all of our kids across the district that are ESL kids and their testing. They are performing at 73% in reading, versus the state's 76% at meets for 48%, and just a little bit below the state's 54%, and then 16% of our kids mastered versus the state's 23%. And then for math overall, across the district, our ESL kids performed at 70% for approaches, and the state was 72%. 38% at meets, which is just below the 45% for the state. And then at the master's level, 13% of our kids were in that category versus the statewide had 20%. And then if we look at science overall, our kids scored, our ESL kids scored 82%, which was above the state, which was awesome, at 78%, 46% at the meets, and 47% was the state's, and then 11% was masters versus the state's 17%. And then for social studies across the district, 58% in approaches, and the state was 77%. Meets was 30%, and the state was 50%, and then 14% for us versus the state's 27%. And if you'll remember, when we've talked about our accountability and our data this year, ESL numbers were, and the points that we can get from our ESL numbers were zero. We got zero across the board, and so we looked at that as a very high leverage area this year in regards to accountability. The principals and I have been to accountability trainings. Y'all have heard about those, but that was one of the things that has been targeted as a high need area that could have potentially quite a bit of impact for our accountability and for our kids. So each of the campuses have worked with Miss Marchurano, who is our new ESL coordinator this year, who's done a phenomenal job. But she has worked to help. I think, that you have the Tell-Pass Tuesdays at the elementary, and I know the middle school has trained their staff and high school as well. And she sends out information to the teachers about instruction and how to incorporate a lot of our ESL strategies into their instruction. So this is an area that we are definitely targeting as one of our areas that we feel like we know we need to work on, but we feel like we're making some great progress on moving forward that will be able to make a big impact positively on our accountability. Okay, so this is that lagging data, Mr. Cooper, that you were talking about. The remaining data, the state reports, they call it lagging data, which is report that's a year behind. So where the information that we just talked about was for last year, 24-25, this data is actually from 23-24 and 24, and so it's the last couple years. So the class of 23 their graduation rate it was very high, 94% versus the state's 90%, and then the class of 2024 graduated 95% of that class versus the state's 91%. And then for attendance rates, both years we were above the state at 95%. We had 95% in both 23 and 24, and the state was at 93 and 94, so just above the state average for attendance in both of those graduating years. And then we transitioned to the CCMR, the College Career and Military Ready at the high school. And again, this is information from 23-24. So if you'll kind of think about the work that we've talked about that was put in place last year as far as our testing and all of our TSI and the CCMR and the pathways, and then we've jumped and added more on this year. We will start to see the benefits of that hopefully in our accountability next year. So when we look at our TSI English scores, we were at 39% and well below the state's 70%. For associate's degree, we had 14% of our kids, which was very high compared to the state's 3%. We do a really good job, I think, with our Panther Academy and our associates. I know this year, I believe they said there are 10 kids on track to graduate with their associates this year, which is phenomenal. And then college ready, 46% of at the high school versus the state's 70, which again is significantly below. When we look at those IBCs or industry-based certifications, for 23-24, we had 0 of those reported versus the state's 21. And then TSI math completions, where we had 63% of our kids pass that and only 31 of the states, so we're doing well there. And then dual credit courses, 32% of our kids pass that, or we have 32% of our kids in that, and then versus the state with 25%. So again, some of these numbers look okay, but we definitely, significant work has been done last year and this year that we will start to see in these reports beginning next year. We feel confident about.
So is that what you're talking about with the IBC 0% reported?
Yes, sir.
So we did have some that actually did get IBCs?
I honestly cannot confirm that,
Okay.
but but I know that there were things that were being worked on, but we do not have the data to validate that from that year. But we will moving forward. So yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay, that is it. Unless you guys have any more questions.
I will say it's a public hearing, so if anybody has questions or wants to ask about it, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you very much. You're the best.
All right, moving into discussion action items. The first item up is to consider approving an order of cancellation for the May 2nd Board of Trustees special election and certification of unopposed candidate Jerry Ramirez. So nobody else turned in a packet to run against Jerry, so this is a discussion item to cancel that election and to certify as unopposed Jerry.
Make a motion to approve the order of cancellation for the May 2nd, 2026 Board of Trustees special election.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right, all four.
I think it's all in one.
Is it one motion?
One abstain.
Yeah, one abstain. Yeah. All four, one abstain, sorry. Again.
Okay, so we do have a consideration, oh, sorry, thank you. A consideration for a waiver for one elementary bad weather makeup day, from the snow days that we had. Miss Day is here, and you're welcome to come talk about it if you would like.
Good evening. We are requesting for the board to consider us filing a waiver so that we have built-in minutes that give us extra days when we do have bad weather days, or if we had to shut down because of electricity or water or some type of other situation. The high school goes to school 10 more minutes a day than the elementary, so therefore they have more minutes to bank for those kind of situations. So the 3 days we were out in January, the middle school and high school have days that cover those days that we're out, but LSK was short some minutes, so we can apply to the state to waive that with board approval, and we, based on the staff development that the LSK has provided for their staff, we qualify for a waiver. So we are coming to the board tonight to ask for you to grant a waiver, and we will file that if the board so chooses to do that.
I move to approve the attendance waiver for one day for the January bad weather day missed.
Second.
Any discussion?
You know, talking to all the kids, I think they really just want to go an extra day of school this summer, so.
The bad weather day, weather day would be April the 3rd or April the 6th, so.
I think Ms. Beckham
I'll tell
wholeheartedly
them that.
disagrees with that. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, it's passed.
Thank you, Miss Day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so consider the interlocal agreement for Region 11 Benefits Co-op. That's just to basically give us the opportunity to what's the word, Josh?
Higginbotham has their contract through Region 11's interlocal agreement, so it just gives us the opportunity to continue running our benefits through Higginbotham.
And we don't have any information yet in regards to the rates or anything, but Ms. Shearman does have upcoming meetings scheduled in April to be able to find out some more specifics about that through Region 11.
Make a motion to adopt the interlocal agreement for Region 11 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All four. All right, next up we have the middle school PTO project to refurbish part of the outdoor landscape.
I'm Courtney Barton, I'm the president of the middle school PTO, and this is Heather Garcia, the treasurer. Oh, I'm sorry, you want me to speak to them? I thought I was left. So Julie Sanchez, our vice president, she's the one that's been heading up this whole project with Heather. Am I still not talking into it? Is that better? Oh, yeah, I was gonna hand them out to you. Okay, thank you. So anyways, I'm gonna let Heather speak to y'all about this because I was dealing with the fundraiser and wasn't, in all of this. But they're gonna, Steve's handing you out all that stuff, so.
All right. So, I'm a little shorter than you are.
All right, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the middle school PTO about the opportunity that directly impacts our middle school students' daily experience, safety, and sense of pride in their campus. As a PTO, our focus is always on supporting our students, our teachers, and the environment they learn and grow in every day. Tonight we're here to talk about a space that has tremendous potential, but currently falls short of what our students deserve, the school courtyard. Our courtyard is one of the most central and visible spaces on campus, yet right now it isn't functioning the way our students and staff need it to. The area has become worn, uneven, and underutilized. What should be a safe, welcoming, and engaging environment has instead become a space that limits student use rather than supporting it. Uneven surfaces and limited seating make it difficult for teachers to use the area for instruction and for students to use it safely and comfortably during the school day. We see a real opportunity to change that. Over the past several months, the PTO has been working closely with campus staff to outline improvements that would transform the courtyard into a functional, welcoming, and student-centered space. Before you are the details of the proposed set of improvements. We believe that these updates would support safer and cleaner transition during passing periods, outdoor learning and small group instruction, positive social interaction during passing periods, and a stronger sense of pride and connection to the school environment. And I want to emphasize this. Our families are invested in this project. Through our recent fundraising efforts, our community has raised $13,000 in funds to apply directly towards these courtyard improvements. This level of participation shows how strongly our families believe in creating a better environment for our students. We have already begun exploring cost-effective options and potential partnership to help make this project a reality. However, to move forward responsibly and to ensure the improvements meet district standards, we are asking the board to consider covering a portion of the project's cost. Your support would allow us to move forward more quickly and ensure the final design is durable, safe, and aligns with district expectations. This is more than a beautification effort. This courtyard has the potential to become a true centerpiece of the campus, a place where students feel safe, connected, and proud of where they go to school. It's an investment in students' well-being, teacher flexibility, and overall climate of the campus. With your partnership, combined with the $13,000 our families have already contributed, we can turn the courtyard into a space that truly reflects the pride we all have in our school and send a clear message to our students that their environment matters, their safety matters, and their school experience matters. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your continued commitment to our students. Any questions?
So a few of us got to view the project and kind of walk through it. Do you have somebody here from Vista Pro too? Is that?
Yes, we
Okay.
do
Yeah.
have.
You want to come up here,
Yes.
kind of give an overall how this is going to
Yes.
impact?
So this is Andy with Total Pro.
Total Pro.
Yes.
Can I see this, sir? Good afternoon, how are y'all?
Good, sir.
Good. So, I'm sorry, what was the question? I apologize. Do you have any questions, or?
If you could kind of take us through the turf process of what that looks like for the campus, like the installation, lifetime expectancy, all that stuff, so everybody kind of gets a big picture.
Okay.
Some of us have an idea already because we got to see that,
Right.
but some of the others don't.
So, it has it's got a 10-year warranty,
Okay.
life expectancy.
There'll be a drainage
Yes,
put
and
in, right?
so the
To help, 'cause
drainage,
It floods out there a lot, so it causes a lot of mud to go into the school and extra maintenance for
correct, yes.
not having janitorial. I can think of the word.
So there's some pictures there, obviously what it looks like before and then what it'll look like after. Like she said, the drainage and I'm sorry, I don't know what part of the building this is. It's the,
So
I know
this,
it's a walkway.
it's
but I
right
don't
here on
know.
the front page, that is over by the gym and the temporary buildings that are back there. It's a big muddy mess. Basically, if you walk around all of it, I hate to say this, but I've heard from several people, it looks like a prison. And it really does, because the fencing and the concrete and the just no grass, anything like that, it just really does not look welcoming. And so if we put the turf in there, it's gonna help a lot, I think, with the way it looks, we won't have to have, I'm sorry, my brain has got,
The janitorial staff that.
well, come to mow, those guys, to come mow.
Landscape.
Yes, thank
Yes.
you, I could not think of that word in my life. They won't have to mow, we won't have mud drugged in, stuff like that, and we are gonna get, we also, the PTO is also on top of that going to pay for, having raised beds for the classes, cause I know Coach Kinder and some of them wanna have their classes to have projects like that with flowers and plants and stuff like that, so we're gonna pay for that, and we talked about, with the ag department, right? About
Yes,
them
spoke with
building.
the ag director that his students would be able to contribute to the constructing of the picnic tables, and so involving those students in the
We'll
project
buy
as
the
well.
materials, but
Yeah.
they'll make them for us. So that will be on top of what this, what is it, 26,000 is just for the painting of the sidewalk and for the turf. Work that has to be done. We'll pay for all the extra, but, we have 13,000 budgeted that we could go towards this, so we're asking if we could get a little help.
So are you saying, so the total bid, I believe, was 20, well, dadgummit, where'd it
25,
go?
415,
25, 4?
415.
Oh, I thought I saw 27, I'm sorry.
7,315. Am I part of that?
Yeah, he's just looking at total pros.
Right. 3965 and 21,450.
My computer said something different, sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
yes.
And I apologize.
He's just talking about the Total Pro stuff.
Gotcha.
I think they're still looking for somebody to do a honor roll board, the decal for the front
We have already
door.
paid for all that stuff.
Okay, and y'all are paying for that. So the 13,000 is towards
It's just for
their
the turf and the
25.
painting the
Correct.
concrete.
So
Okay.
there's a balance of 12,415, I guess.
Those
Okay.
other items were listed on there, as those are things that we have either already covered or they're anticipated or upcoming, that some of the profit that we made from the fundraiser is being allocated to that, so that's why those are listed on there, but the
Yeah, so we,
13,000
yeah,
is
we
what is
purchased the
allocated
conference
towards this
chairs, the
project.
A honor roll board, the storage racks, but then we are also going to do the planters, the 8th grade wing, the metal benches, oh, we also want metal benches up to the front. Bone requested that for the kids after school to have more places to sit.
Weather wing.
And then, I'm sorry, I can zoom it. We wanted to do a plaque with the 8th graders' name, because this was the first 8th grade group to get to use the new wing, so we kinda wanna have a little dedication for them. But the raised beds, all that kinda stuff should be on here also that we will pay for.
But y'all are paying for that portion. So of the 25,
415.
415, we would be covering about 12,415, and y'all are covering 13,000.
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what y'all are requesting. Okay. I had a question when me and Jerry went and saw it. I think we had spoken with you and Julie and Kirk, and we had talked about the drainage. That was, I think, our biggest concern was the water could still stand there, right? And then it could make the turf last not as
Correct.
long, and it could make the I think it's the crushed granite underneath not last as long, it come out from under it. So did we ever include that in the bid, like finding that?
Yes, that's all in there. We're gonna backfill it, 2 inches with drain rock and pack it for the drainage. Also put the turf.
We did find the drainage, like the
Yes.
week, man,
Yes.
that's awesome.
Yes.
So my other question is on page 5, if we're looking next to the fence, it's the 5th page in there, I'm sorry. It wasn't, they're thick, so it's kinda,
This one?
the fence, yes. I think we had kinda talked about this, but I wanna also bring clarity to the people that haven't been over there. Are we doing, I believe, a concrete footer, like at the fence, or just
Correct,
past the
yes.
fence, so that way
Right.
the turf really has something to hold to?
Yes.
So my only other concern there is drainage. If you'll notice those gutters drop right there. So do we think that concrete, and I think concrete needs to be there, right? But do you think that water's gonna stand there because that water coming from the roof is gonna make it stand? Or do you think it will all flow down towards that other drainage, obviously where the kids walk, but if it drains away, that'll be good.
If I recall, there's drains at this other end of this, at the sidewalk where it meets, and there's, on both ends, there's drains, correct? I believe that's right. So,
I can't remember, I just remember looking from the parking lot, where you're looking at that roof and the ground. it's just not a perfect drainage situation over there, okay? Like, this is nothing to do with y'all. I'm just trying to think of how, if we do it, we could do it right? Even if it costs a couple $100 more, like, we need the water not to stand there, right? That's the whole purpose of this. We don't want to create another issue or a bigger issue. We want to solve the issue and keep it looking nice. And so I'm just curious if we think that that's going to cause, that concrete's going to border it up a little bit more where it even can't go even further, right? So is it, do we need to like put those gutters underground and into that drainage as well? Because those gutters will literally just come out on that turf, and I'm just wondering if over time it's going to ruin that turf or erode the crushed granite that's underneath there. Does that make sense?
So are you talking about doing it like a French drain?
Yeah, something. I'm just curious if you think that needs to happen, just so it lasts longer.
Can I get back with you on that?
Absolutely,
I honestly don't know.
absolutely.
I wanna look at it and have Brock look at it. We don't look at it to, so we're all not just talking, what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't wanna just say something.
Yeah, I'm just curious if you regrade some of that to get that runoff in the right direction.
And I know that's the problem. I don't know if you can, because the fence is there and it's permanent, right? And then the concrete walkway, the fence is just a little bit higher. The bottom of the fence is a little bit higher than the and that's the problem, right? Not y'all's problem. The problem is the ground is a little bit higher than the concrete, and so it kind of flows back. So if we put a dead stop there with concrete, I'm just curious how we're gonna get rid of that water, or if we should do something now so that way it doesn't do that, right? So we don't mess up what we spend money on. I just want to make sure that in our, if we choose to do the investment, like, I want to make sure that it looks, it's best for us.
So Kurt and I, when we looked at that footer will, at that fence line, it seems to push everything on the other side down to where they put the new drainage, the ponding, and then it should flow down to this area. Now, one thing we did figure out is when they put these electrical boxes, they built the dirt up around them. So one thing we're gonna have to do on the other side of this fence is remove a lot of that dirt to get that water to push out. Because right now, as it sits, it ponds right here.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I just remember looking at that area, and I knew the bottom of the fence and the ground was a little bit higher than the concrete, and like those gutter spouts coming down right there. I'm just curious. Like, I don't think y'all would be creating a problem. I just want our solution to last as long and be as functional for our kids as possible. Because I think y'all have a really good idea. I just want to make sure that it lasts and it does its absolute best for us.
So I got a quick question though. The turf that's coming with it, is that something that your company provides themselves, or are you just are gonna be buying that from somebody else to put that in?
No, we're gonna,
All that's,
we're installing, yes, we're.
So y'all get the turf? I don't know.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I apologize, yes, we're getting the turf, yes.
Okay.
And all that.
Reason I was asking is because I know, I could still get turf. There's a cheaper option where you can get refurbished turf from professional teams. I know, like at our church, we just put some in, and it's been there for 12 years, and it's still just good as new. And it was like quarter the price. But that's just, I was just thinking out loud.
Yeah, this is a different turf. It's not the long padded one like in fields. It's more of a short,
Yeah,
fine.
that's what we have too.
Okay.
We have it from the Giants stadium. I hate it because I don't like the Giants, so I don't like to go on it at all. But yeah, I was just trying to think about trying to save but keep the
I wasn't as sold on painting the sidewalk, because given like where do you stop? The gray looks, I know we talked about this and kind of, I know our opinion was not to do red. I think that was a comment to do red. Part of it, I don't know where you really stop consistently to give it, because it wraps, I don't think that painting is going to go all the way around the whole side of the building as well. So I don't know if that will
All the way
look
to the fence, all the sidewalk.
all the way down
All the,
even.
yeah, all the way down, both sides, down the walkway, and then in front of the two portable buildings, and all the way down where I guess the fence opens to go to the football field maybe, or?
Yeah, I do like the gray also because, like, at some point, like, there's a ton of kids that walk. So at some point, it's not going to look as good as it does the first day, right? So if it chips, gray won't show as much. Like, whereas red, you'll notice every flaw. So I do like the gray a lot.
I mean, it's a very rough area the way it is now.
Yeah, the concrete
not
is
look
all
great.
different colors.
I know there are safety concerns with that water even coming off the ramp there from the portables. Ms. Bone mentioned several times people falling and having issues there too, so.
And that's our life skills class there as well.
I can tell right here, this looks slippery right here.
And the
Question, on that paint, is there any texture to it, or is it gonna be slick too? It is texture?
It's
Okay,
not slick, but
okay.
It's kind of like, if I remember you were saying, it's kind of like when you do the garage floors, I can't remember what it's called, but when you paint the garage floors.
Epoxy or whatever.
Yeah, epoxy, yeah.
Well, I know a question I asked that day we were together, and I know Julie wouldn't give me an answer because she needed to speak to the treasurer of, what's that dollar amount you're saying you need that if you don't get it, you can't do the project at all? Because I know you raised some money, but I do know she said you'll have some money too, of what that looks like.
We've all agreed on and voted on spending half, the 13,000, because we still have lots of other things that we have to do.
Sure.
Like teacher appreciation and, eighth grade dance, all the other kind of stuff. And then we wanna have some left over for next year, beginning of the year. But we also do have a company that will donate some also to us. We just kinda have to figure out where we go.
So we're gonna need a specific amount, and
How much
so,
you wanna donate?
so is it the 12,415 is what you're looking for?
So 12,415 is what is the funds that aren't covered
Okay.
as of right now.
Okay.
So that is total what we, in combination of your contribution and any potential sponsorships we need to get.
I mean, just my opinion, it's a good investment for that campus that needs some infrastructure.
Well,
we
the
have-
money we have also too will be for the other stuff, the picnic tables and the raised beds.
Right, right.
Yeah.
We still have
Yeah.
money to spend on that too, or the sponsor can help with that, however we want to distribute.
We'll save a lot with utilizing our resources by using the ag med classes, and then just some others that have offered their, time in just purchasing materials and we have had a few teachers who have stated that, if that area was suitable, they would host their classes outside as well. Some of those being the wildlife instructor as well as life skills, utilizing that area. So, yeah, we did mention that a little bit.
So I have a couple questions. So I actually like the project. I think it's a great project. I think it'll be a huge benefit to the middle school. Mine aren't there anymore. Mine have moved on. But I think it is a good project. I know that if we end up using taxpayer dollars, we have to go through our own procurement process. So having a preferred vendor may or may not work out, if that makes sense, right? Because we have to go, because it's taxpayer dollars, so we have to go through our processes for those things. So just heads up on that, right? I also know that there are other projects that have come specifically to me, so I'm not talking about anybody else, specifically to me, that I'm a huge fan of, and I told them to go find donors because we're in a deficit budget, and we've got big stuff coming this summer with like elevator repairs at the high school and things like that that are going to really, really tug at our budget. And so I'm just being honest and transparent. I love the project. I think it's wonderful. My curiosity is there a stepped approach that we could do with this, right? Where we did some of it right now with what you guys have, and then we did some crazy, like I'm even willing to jump in and help with some fundraising, right? And calling companies and trying to get donations for you guys to help any way that I can. I'm just trying to help figure this out. Does that make sense? Like, being fiscally responsible is super important. Like, for example, I know we wanted new windscreens at the stadium, right? And I love them. They're gorgeous. And I told them to go find donors. I was like, I can't help you, right? I just can't. So I'm not saying no at all. I'm just being as transparent as I can be from my perspective, right? As I look at the budget and I kind of see how things are going, and I scratch my head and go, oh, geez, we're going to pass another deficit budget next year if we keep going down this path. So that's just my only concern. I really, truly love the project. I hope you guys hear me. Like, I'm not saying no in any way. I'm just saying I want to make sure that we do this as right as possible. And I was curious if there was a phased approach that we could do, right? Like if there was a high traffic area we could do right away, and then maybe do it another step in the summer or in the fall. I don't know. I'm
Considered also
trying to be
putting
creative.
Painting of the sidewalk off for a while and just working strictly on the turf right now because of the drainage issues and all that kind of stuff. So that would be $4,000 that we would be saving for a while that we could put off
Yeah.
to a later date.
Josh, on the elevators, they're already budgeted. We made that back in last year.
So the funds came in for them last year, and now this year, fiscal year, we're having to pay that out.
Right.
So like that we added into fund balance from last year from that funding is going away.
Right. So, but that's been, did we do that time warrant note?
Yeah.
Okay, so those funds already marked. And then I have a question. So do we have to go out for bid, or is it under the amount?
I think with a project this size, we would have to at least get like 3 quotes from different vendors. Like that's what we would do on our end if it was just the district going at this project.
I'm going to make a motion. So I make a motion to approve the project as presented. And the second part of that is to approve $12,415 from fund balance pending 3 bids. 3 bids. 3 bids as per our policy.
I will second that.
Discussion? Is there a time crunch on this? Are we like, is that why we're trying to get this done today, right now?
I think we're trying to finish it before the school year.
I know they said they had a donor too that comes to the table with, I know you just committed the whole thing, but.
No, we're in discussion.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in discussions,
yeah.
but yeah, what the proposal is.
And Josh, if we did have a donor that came back with, let's say, 2,000, we would just take that away from add that back to the fund balance? Yeah.
I do like the, go ahead, Adam.
No, you go.
I say I do love it. I mean, I have a kid over in the middle school. I think it'd be great. But I'm kind of on the same boat where what Jared just said, because we've had a lot of people come ask, and I'm the same way. I actually helped one of those actually get that money raised. So it's just like, how do you draw the line of allowing some and not others, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at right now, to be honest with you. But I love it. I think kids will love it, you know, especially, you know, I have a kid that would benefit from it too. So that's kind of where I'm at, honestly.
I would clarify too that I think it's a great project. I know I'm asking questions there, but I do think it's, especially when you walk through that area, it'll make you want to say yes if you walk through that area.
Yeah. Make you wanna be there.
Yeah, I would agree. I love the project. I love all the work y'all put into it. I know Ms. Sanchez put a lot of work into it. Kids raised a lot of money for it. But at the same time, the deficit is hard to look past when people come up with a bunch, you know, everybody has their one thing they really value. And I value this one. But for me to put my value more on this one than someone else's is hard to do. So, but.
All right, any other further discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, those opposed? All right, it did not pass this time. I am so sorry.
It's okay.
I would have supported the board's decision 100%, I promise you. I just have to vote my conscience. So I want to help. So when this meeting's over, my email address, jared.wright@maypearlisd.org, I want you to email me and let me know where I can help. And I will go help find donors to get this done.
Same.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, it is 8:05, and we are going into closed session. All right, it is 9:31, and we are out of closed session. All right, there are a couple of actions to be taken. Therefore, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the contract renewal recommendations for professional staff as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All approved. I move that the Board of Trustees terminate the employment of Susan Wells at the end of the contract term based on the Board of Trustees' judgment that the best interest of the district will be served by this action and that the superintendent provide written notice of this action to the employee at least 10 days before the last day of instruction for the current school year.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All four. There's no dissent. We will adjourn.